Hello everyone, my name is Dee. Welcome to my YouTube channel and welcome back if you have been here before. Today we are going to be doing a lovely little general reading because I feel like one. And with that said, since it is a general reading, since this is what you need to know right now, please take what resonates and leave the rest. If it does not resonate with you, then it is simply not meant for you. And with all of that said, we have pile 1 with citrine. We have pile 2 with labradorite. And we have pile 3 with selenite. Hello, pile 1, my citrine pile. Let's take a look at what you need to know right now. Okay, let's see my pile 1s. Let's get some general messages out here for you today, my pile 1s. What do you need to know right now? Okay, my pile 1s, let's get some tarot cards out here to start. We've got the Three of Wands in reverse, the Hermit, the Knight of Cups, and the Four of Wands. So right now, starting out with that Three of Wands in reverse is going to lead me to believe that we are lacking in direction. Okay, like we're not quite sure of what it is that we should be doing. We're not too sure of where it is that we want to go. And what we are being urged to do first and foremost with that Hermit card is to check in with ourselves. Okay, like we're being urged right now to spend some time to ourselves, for ourselves, by ourselves, as well as with supportive people that are a part of our support system. That Three of Wands in reverse to me could highlight that we at times are feeling quite destabilized. Like we're feeling a little off balance. We're not exactly sure of where we're at, and we're not exactly sure of where we are heading. So when that occurs, one of the first things that we need to do is delve back into our inner world. We need to begin to check in with ourselves. We need to find clarity for ourselves. And that also leads me to say, like, what this situation, whatever it is that you're going through, my pile 1s, what this situation is urging for you to do is to listen to yourself first and foremost. Because, of course, you're going to have people sharing their opinions and their expectations. But opinions and expectations are like assholes. Everyone has one. So you need to focus on what you yourself feel like you need to do. You need to delve back into this inner world. So I usually, first and foremost, will recommend something like meditation. Okay, and there's a lot of different ways to meditate. It doesn't just have to be you sitting or lying down in quiet solitude, let's say. You could go on a walk. You could go sit in your backyard and ground yourself and just be surrounded by the nature. Like whatever the case might be, if traditional meditation doesn't work for you, you might want to think of like a couple of different things that you could do to put you in that meditative state. Like, for example, something that helps me meditate, or ways in which I meditate and didn't even realize like I was doing it, is, let's say, in the shower. You're quiet, you're alone. That's a great place to meditate. Cleaning. Whenever I'm doing the same repetitive sort of tedious task over and over and over again, which also leads me to what I do for work outside of this. I feel like I'm doing nothing but meditating like 99% of the time that I'm at my job outside of tarot reading, because I'm just doing that same repetitive task over and over and over again, and I'm just sitting there with my own thoughts. And I honestly have to say it's almost kind of crazy how much clarity and peace and serenity I get at times, considering what the job is. But either way you slice it, my pile 1s, there's a need for us to quiet our own mind. There's a need for us to delve into this inner world. The Hermit is indicative of soul searching. It's indicative of spiritual transformation and personal growth. So there's a need for us to focus our energy inward. There's a need for us to focus our energy inward at this point in time. There's a need for us to focus on introspection and meditative work. There's a need for us to really focus on what is going on in our inner world. So I hope that makes sense, my pile ones. And then with that said, we have the Knight of Cups, and the Knight of Cups is indicative of positive movement forward. Now, the Knight of Cups also places a focus on our creativity and our spirituality. Our spirituality, yet again, bringing up our intuition, our inner world, what we've got going on inside of us. So for me, what this is highlighting is we're lacking in direction, maybe even in confidence, and we're not quite sure of where we're going. The Hermit is us directing our energy inward, and the Knight of Cups is us having the clarity that we need to continue forward on our path. And that once we have that clarity, once we've listened to what we've got going on within, we are going to know the correct way to move. And that also leads me to believe, like, for some of us, this could be a creative problem-solving exercise where it's not so much that the Knight of Cups is representing creativity in a traditional sense, but that the Knight of Cups is representing that you need to go inward, find this clarity, so that you can come up with creative solutions to whatever it is that's causing for us to feel stuck and stagnant. Because at this point in time, it seems like one thing that we're certainly missing here is the clarity that we need to continue forward. And I feel like for some of us, that even just taking a little wee bit of time to focus on what we ourselves think first and foremost versus what other people's opinions and expectations might be is going to make a whole world of difference when it comes to us taking our next steps forward. And where we're moving forward toward is further stability and security. We're feeling a lot more comfortable and a lot more confident in our footing. Because right now, we might be lacking that comfort and that confidence in our footing. So what we really need to be focusing on is ourselves. We need to also be, basically, I'm going to say it again, like we need to be blocking out what other people are saying we should do. I also feel that way too, because one thing that, something that works for someone else might not necessarily work for you. Whether that's mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, physically, it doesn't matter. But what works for someone else might not work for you, which is why you have to learn to trust yourself first and foremost. Either way you slice it, my pile ones, I hope that makes sense in some way, shape, or form. I want to get a couple of oracle cards out here for either reiterated messages or new messages to share regarding what it is that you need to know right now. But I just keep getting a strong message of something that we need to learn how to do is to trust ourselves. So I hope that makes sense, my pile ones. Okay, we have the card, the Thinking Woman, which, whether you are male or female, is going to represent someone who does, again, I guess this is a worse way of me saying what I was saying before, but the thinking woman is going to think for herself or himself, whoever the card is drawn for. This card is urging for you to think for yourself, to delve within, to listen to, or to either meditate or introspect, or to journal, or to ground yourself, or to go for a walk, or to have a nice relaxing spa day at home, but to practice some act of self-care, even along with it, with everything else, but mainly to delve into your inner world, to think for yourself as you move forward with whatever it is that we are grappling with at this point in time. Okay, and then we have the walking away card. And I kind of feel like what the walking away card is meant to represent here is more so of the fact that we're walking away. We might not at this point in time, for one reason or another, we don't have the clarity that we need to continue forward. We're feeling kind of stuck right now. We don't have the confidence within ourselves to move forward at this point in time. And we feel stuck and stagnant. So I feel like the walking away card is actually a good thing here. And I feel like the walking away card is meant to represent that when we find this clarity that we need and when we are thinking for ourselves, we're going to be able to walk away from these situations that no longer serve us. And we're going to be walking towards situations that do. Okay, and I also feel like the walking away card could be representative of us walking away from other people's opinions and expectations of us. Like it's indicative of that as well. Let's get one or two more cards. We have, I'm dropping her. We have the Purity card, okay? And I do feel like the Purity card is going to represent that we are, yet again, what we need to do is we need to find the clarity that we need to continue forward on our path. And I feel like that Purity card is indicative of us quieting our mind and us having finding that clarity that we need, and that clarity that we need is coming from within. Again, we're getting messages like focus on meditative work and introspection, spend time to yourself, for yourself, by yourself, focus on your own creativity and intuition, ignore other people's opinions and expectations, think for yourself. And now we have purity. So a lot of this is asking you to draw this focus back inward. Oop. And what are you? And we have assessing. And I feel like, again, like this purity, this clarity that you find for yourself is going to more easily allow for you to assess the situations that you are in and to proceed forward. And what I'm getting from that assessing card is even going forward past whatever the situation is, keep up with that connection to your inner world. Keep up with this pattern, let's say, of thinking for yourself. Like keep up with this pattern of the meditative work and the introspective work and the soul searching and the personal growth. Keep up with whatever you do for yourself that allows for you to have that pure mind or that clarity that you need. Because it's only going to further help you assess situations, see them for what they are, and be able to move forward accordingly. So I do hope that makes sense in some way, shape, or form. My pile ones, thank you so much for allowing me to read for you today. And I hope that everybody has a wonderful weekend. Hello, my pile twos, my Labradorite pile. Let's take a look at what you need to know right now. Okay, let's get into it, my pile twos. Let's see. What do you need to know right now? Okay, pile two, let's see. Okay, we've got the Four of Swords in reverse. The High Priestess. The Queen of Pentacles. And the Three of Pentacles. So, one thing that's coming, I don't know why, but I'm getting like heavy coven vibes from pile two. Which of course probably won't resonate, but that's something that like immediately came to mind. So maybe for somebody out there it will. Whatever the case might be, I do feel like right now what we're being urged to do is to focus on our own personal brand of magic, whatever that might be. We've got the Four of Wands in reverse. And for me, the Four of Wands in reverse, it can represent like recovery, like maybe we've been resting and rejuvenating. Maybe we haven't been feeling our best. Maybe we've even been feeling a little bit under the weather or exhausted, burnt out, etc., whatever the case might be. But the Four of Swords, when it's in reverse, can also indicate this message of re-entering the world. And for some of us, I feel like it could also be an indication of entering into the world. And maybe the world that we're entering into is more so focused around spirituality. You know, maybe we're focusing more on our spirituality, or maybe we're being more open and more honest about what our spiritual beliefs are, or even what our psychic abilities are, like, because that could be a huge possibility too, with the High Priestess being right next to that Four of Swords. So I'm going to just say the disclaimer again. If this does not resonate with you, then it certainly is not meant for you. So you might not have a pile here today, my pile twos. But I do feel like what's coming through here is that we're placing more of a focus on our inner world. We're placing more so of a focus on our spirituality. And I also feel like for a lot of us, we're being much more open with others about our spirituality. Okay? Or we're being more open and honest about what we are picking up on intuitively. So for some of you, maybe you are tarot readers, maybe you are wanting to read tarot for others, and we are beginning to place more so of a focus on our intuition. We're beginning to place more so of a focus on our own personal brand of magic, if that makes sense to you. But I do feel like for some of us, we are certainly beginning to place a stronger focus on our spirituality, our intuition, our guides, our gods, our deities, etc. We might be getting into tarot readings. We might be like really just like a whole slew of things. Overall, there just seems to be this heavier focus being placed on our spirituality, our intuition, and or divination and divination tools. You know, it just seems like to me that we are really beginning to place a very strong focus on these things. And part of the reason why is because the Queen of Pentacles is also a card that can represent magic. She's also a card that can represent divination. The High Priestess is all about connecting to our intuition and our divine femininity and our spirituality. And then we've got the Three of Pentacles. And the Three of Pentacles is a card of collaborations and colleagues and close working relationships and of helpfulness. So for me, that could be an indication too that maybe we are seeking out or reaching out to other people. Okay, so for me, this can be an indication of like maybe we are researching different divination or spiritualities or religions, and we're seeking out message boards, or we're seeking out information from people who are a part of those, you know, spiritualities or religions, and so on and so forth. The Three of Pentacles also, like I said at the beginning, brings me heavy coven vibes in regard to the two magical cards before it. I feel like that Three of Pentacles can be representative of you seeking out like lessons or knowledge or learning about different methods of, you know, like divination or spirituality, etc. You learning from others different ways of how to connect to your spirit guides or to your intuition. And really just overall, this is leading me to say like another thing too, in that same regard though, brings me back to something I said at the very beginning, where this entering the world. It could, of course, be this reference into how you are maybe entering into a world of esoteric knowledge that you're now beginning to learn all about. But it could also be this strong indication that you yourself are beginning to share your own knowledge and your own wisdom and your own you know, like spiritual practices or your own psychicness and your own gifts with other people. So all in all, my pile twos, I do hope that this reading makes sense for those of us who it is meant for. But that's mainly what I'm picking up on here. Like you are beginning to make yourself known, or you are beginning to make your gifts known to others or to those around you. I also feel like if that doesn't exactly resonate, then what we're certainly doing here is we are gaining the knowledge and wisdom about things that we want to learn about in regard to spirituality, religion, our intuition, etc. So hopefully at least some aspect of this makes sense, but it is definitely a very spiritual, psychically gifted, empathic pile, my pile twos. Let's get some oracle cards out here. We have rest and rejuvenation, which I do feel like is very important and can also be, first of all, referencing back to the Four of Swords, but even more importantly, bringing things up like psychic protection or like protecting yourself spiritually in some type of way, whether it's through saying a simple prayer, whether it's through lighting a white candle, whether it's through doing a simple spell. But I do feel like something to be mindful of, especially as you begin to delve more into the spiritual world, is about protecting yourself and protecting your own energy. Like, especially, let's say, if we're someone who's recently discovered that we have empathic abilities, you want to make sure that you are protecting yourself. And at times, only picking up on your energy and not picking up on the energy of the people around you. So I hope that that makes sense. Again, for those of us that this is meant to resonate for. Also, rest and rejuvenation could be speaking to things like meditation and, like breath work, etc. Things that might help for you to get into more so of a spiritual mood. Now, let's get one more card from this deck. And we have the goddess of the moon. And I feel like the goddess of the moon really directly reiterates the high priestess. I feel like you yourself, maybe even like we're going through some sort of spiritual awakening. Maybe we are feeling more closely connected to our guides, our gods, etc. Maybe we're feeling more closely connected to our intuition than we ever have before. And now we really feel this strong urge or this strong push within us to continue forward on that path. And I feel like for you are like, I feel like one of the skills that you are absolutely utilizing and learning how to utilize at this time is your intuition. Okay, I feel like we're picking up on a lot of things intuitively. We at times are not in like quite sure of what they mean. We're not quite sure of what we could trust. We're maybe at times confusing our anxiety for our intuition, etc. and so on. But we're really honing all of these skills and abilities that we have that are related to our intuition. So I hope that that makes sense. Pile 2. Okay, we have hunger. And I feel like the hunger card literally is bringing up like you're hungry for more. Like you might be like whatever knowledge is that you've been seeking, you're hungry for more. And I feel like you're soaking all of this information in. And I feel like part of the reason could be because you do have a very, like, let's say, strong intuition. You do have these, like, spiritual abilities or these empathic abilities or these psychic abilities. And you're hungry for more information. You're hungry to figure out why. You're hungry to figure out how you can use whatever abilities that you have. You're hungry to learn like whatever it is that you could possibly learn about yourself throughout this process of this, spiritual awakening that you might be having. And I feel like in that regard, and the last card to jump out is wisdom. And that's what it is. It's like we're hungry for wisdom. We're hungry for the knowledge. And I feel like in that regard, definitely continue to seek out information that you want to learn in regard to these subjects. I feel like we're hungry for, I feel like too, like we want to learn. I feel like we're at this point in time through like our spiritual capabilities, and we're at this point in time in regard to our spiritual awakening, whatever the case might be, where we want to learn the universal truths, like where we want to have the knowledge that we need, not just for ourselves, but for others. Because again, I keep going back to this like re-entering the world message that the Four of Swords has attached to it, mixed with this Three of Pentacles, which is about helping others or collaborating with others or sharing with others. And I feel like you yourself, we're at this point where it's like you are the oracle and you want to begin to share your knowledge and your wisdom with others. You feel like you have, I feel like for some of us, maybe we're just beginning this journey. Like, I feel like the TikTok phrase for it is like baby witch. Like maybe we're just a couple of baby witches at this point in time and we're hungry for the knowledge. But I feel like for others, it's almost like we want to get our wisdom out there. And I feel like if this is something that you've been thinking about doing, then absolutely fucking go for it. I do feel like you are being urged to share your gift with others. Okay, especially if that is something that we are wanting to pursue or something that we've been thinking about pursuing. You're being urged to start sharing more of what you've got going on in your inner world with others. And of course, not everybody will accept it or understand it, and that's perfectly okay. But the more that you yourself accept yourself and understand yourself, the more that you'll find you begin to connect with others who understand it and understand you as well. So I hope that that makes sense, my pile twos. And I hope that everybody has a wonderful and witchy weekend. Hello, my pile threes, my selenite pile. Let's take a look at what you need to know right now. My pile threes, let's see what is going on. What do you need to know right now? My pile threes. Okay, we've got the Chariot. We have the Four of Pentacles, and hiding underneath them, the Ace of Wands in reverse. And we've got the Eight of Cups in reverse. So, what this is bringing up for me is that the Chariot, first and foremost, is urging for you to recognize that you can overcome anything, my dear pile threes. Like, we can overcome anything and everything. But we also need to stop clinging on to something. There's something that we need to let go of. And I feel like what's coming through here for me with that Ace of Wands in reverse is an opportunity that did not work out for us, or an opportunity where maybe even right now we're a part of, but we feel like we're getting taken advantage of in the process. So there's a lot going on here. My pile threes. I feel like let's ignore the Chariot for a second and focus on the Ace of Wands in reverse. Ace of Wands in reverse to me is going to highlight that at this point in time, we are feeling like something has not worked out for us as planned. Okay, so whatever that might be, it could be that maybe right now we're feeling very stuck and stagnant. I do feel like this is more so perhaps related to either our career or our creativity. So it could be representing something like we feel stuck and stagnant within our career, or it could be representing some type of creative block that's really making it difficult for us to do whatever it is that we love to do, or pursue whatever it is that we want to pursue. So we feel blocked right now, very stuck and stagnant. Something did not work out for us. And it's almost like we're starting to lose like our passion for it. We're starting to lose our energy or motivation toward it. We're not quite feeling as ambitious as we once felt. And I feel like what the message is here is you're being urged to let go of whatever the hell this is. But we keep clinging to it. And I feel like what we're clinging to is more so the negativity surrounding it. It's like for example, I'll use two examples. One will be a job, and the job could be like, okay, we went for this job that we thought, like with that Chariot card even, like we thought that this job was going to help us to be able to get ourselves out of our debt. We thought that this job was going to be an exciting opportunity for us. And now we're realizing this job fucking sucks. You know, this is the worst job we've ever had. It's killing all of my passion for the field that I'm in, etc. and so on. And it feels like a bit of a blunder or a failure. And the Four of Pentacles is urging for us to release ourselves from this, to move on from it. But that Eight of Cups is indicative of us still clinging on. And I feel like at the end of the day, we're not clinging on to this job per se. Maybe we're clinging on to whatever comfort zone it might bring us. What we're more so clinging on to is these feelings of failure, or this lack of motivation and energy that we have toward it. When really what we should be doing is releasing ourselves from whatever the job is, or whatever the work is that we are no longer in alignment with. This isn't a matter of us persevering and pushing ourselves through this challenging time. This is a matter of, this is not for me. And even though this did not work out, doesn't mean that I have to continue to wallow in these feelings of this thing not working out. And I feel like the same could go for a more so creative venture, or something that we like to do creatively, where it's like we're stuck on these feelings. Like, that's the main message that I keep getting from this pile three. So I hope that it makes sense for those of us that this is going to resonate for. As always, and especially with these types of readings, if it does not resonate with you, then it is not meant for you. But one thing that I'm getting so strongly from this whole spread is that we are so stuck on and blaming ourselves for whatever perceived failure we've had here, that's what's keeping us so stuck. Okay, so we could be feeling stuck here because it didn't work out for us, and now we're just feeling miserable about it, and now we've lost all the creative spark that we have, or we've lost all the ambition that we have toward this career path, etc., whatever the case might be. Like, the more that you stay stuck in this mindset of either this isn't working out, this hasn't worked out, or I'm a failure, the more stuck you're going to feel. Because I feel like right now what's more important is that at this point in time, we recognize that, let's say whatever it is that we're doing right now, it ain't quite working for us. You know, like if this is about a job, like this job isn't working for us. So maybe it's time for us to get out of our comfort zone and search for other opportunities in order to bring ourselves back to the passion that we once had for it, rather than remaining stuck where we're currently at. So I don't know how that's going to resonate with you, but for me, that's what's coming through here. Like, the number one thing that we're clinging on to is this sense of failure. And us constantly feeling like a failure all the time isn't helping us to overcome the lack of motivation and the stagnancy that we're feeling. So what we need to let go of and stop clinging on to is this sense of like, it's never going to get any better than this. Because that's what's causing for us to feel stuck. Or that's what's causing for us to feel even more stuck. So again, I'm not sure how that makes sense for you personally, or like whether it's a creative venture or a creative talent or an actual job that you're currently working in. But there is just this huge message of like, we're clinging on to these feelings of what we perceived as a failure of ours. And us clinging on to those feelings is something that's holding us back from being able to move forward or push forward. And at the same time, it's killing all the creativity and love and passion that we once had for whatever it is that we love to do. I hope that makes sense. I hope that I'm explaining that right. I hope that there's at least one person that it maybe resonates for. But I feel like what has to happen here first and foremost is we have to stop clinging on to whatever that feeling of failure is. Like whatever we feel like we failed at is something that we need to really begin to move away from. Because this wasn't a failure. This was a learning experience. This was a situation that you have learned from and grown from. This isn't your end-all, be-all. This isn't the end. This is certainly not the best that it's ever going to be. Like, there is so much more out there for you. But us feeling like because this one thing didn't work out for us, that nothing ever else will, or that we're not good enough to go anywhere else or to do anything else because this one thing didn't work out for us, is going to have us feeling so stuck. So we need to get ourselves out of that mindset, I guess, is what I am trying to say. And okay, so now I just have to bitch a little bit while I pull these cards. But there is these neighbors that I have that are obsessed with letting their kid come up into my yard on my front porch and pet my cat. So can you please riddle me what occurs when the cat does not want to be bothered by this 3-year-old child getting in his face? Either way you slice it. We've got cornucopia in reverse. So after the bitching was done, we've got cornucopia in reverse and we have hostilities. And I feel like cornucopia in reverse is yet again referring to this feeling of failure that we have. Like we feel like we failed at something and now we feel like there's no turning back, or there's no second chance. There's no this or that. And that is absolutely not the case. And I feel like the more that you, like, I don't know how the best way for me to say this is, but that's an irrational thought that you're having. Like, it's an irrational fear. And for me, like, that hostilities in reverse is almost bringing up that you harbor these hostilities toward yourself for whatever this perceived failure of yours is. And those hostilities that you harbor toward yourself or toward the situation not working out is yet again causing for us to feel worse and worse and worse about ourselves. And I feel like, again, like, I don't know of a better way for me to say it other than that these are irrational thoughts that you are having. Like, it's irrational to think that just because this did not work out for you, or this opportunity blows and was not going to work out for you, doesn't mean that we need to continue to make ourselves feel bad or feel guilty. Again, it's a learning experience. You know, the real failure is when you stop trying. So I don't know who that might resonate for, but that's something that I'm getting to. Like, the real failure is when you stop trying. And I feel like at this point in time, you need to begin to get yourself out of this mindset of whatever this clinging to, whatever this failure could have been. Because I promise you, it wasn't all that, like, it wasn't that bad. I promise you, at this point in time, whatever this failure was, whatever this lack we're feeling is, there's a need for us to begin to get ourselves out of this mindset. There's 6 things I always recommend, and they are meditation, introspection, self-love, self-care, therapy, and Reiki. And maybe some combination of these 6 things, maybe something like shadow work, breath work, journaling, etc. could also be helpful. Grounding yourself could also be helpful. But at this point in time, there's definitely a need for you to begin to pull yourself out of this mindset. I hope that makes sense. Let's get at least 2 more cards out here from another oracle deck, and we have nourishment. And I kind of feel like that's meant to mean like you need to nourish yourself and nourish your soul right now. Because I do feel like for some of us, our passion has been killed, and you need to get this passion back. Okay, and you need to do it on your own terms. So whatever the situation is that we're clinging to, whether it's like the job itself because it's kind of become a comfort zone, or whether we're clinging to this perceived failure that isn't even a failure, there's a need for us to begin to nourish ourselves by participating in what it is that we love on our own terms. Okay, there's a need to continue to try. And there's also a need for us to nourish ourselves in regard to taking care of ourselves and self-care. So I hope that makes sense. Let's get one more card out here. And that card is patience. You need to have patience with yourself and patience with the process as we go through what it is that we are going through right now. Okay, there's a need for us to practice patience and self-compassion toward ourselves. There's a need for us to be patient with this process that we are currently going through. There's a need to respect ourselves also, because if at this point in time, like let's say it is something creative and we've hit this huge creative block, take a break. Nourish yourself first and foremost. You're not a failure because you didn't create that piece of content, and you're not a failure because that piece of artwork didn't turn out exactly the way that you think it should turn out. It's beautiful in its own right. And there's a need for you to be patient with yourself at this time. There's a need for you to take care of yourself at this time. Okay, there's a need for us to begin to and I feel like for some of us too, this brings me all the way back to the Four of Pentacles and the fact that the Four of Pentacles at times can be indicative of deep-seated trauma. And I feel like for some of us, this is deep-seated trauma. We might have been told in our past that we were a failure, that we weren't good enough, and this, that, and the third. And that's another thing. Fuck all those people that said that to you. And at this point in time, we need to pull ourselves out of this mindset that we're not good enough. Because we are good enough, and we need to stop clinging to these perceived feelings of failure, because that's something right now that's making it difficult for us to overcome this lack of passion or motivation or energy. And even when it comes to inspiration, like some ways to get our inspiration back is changing up our environment. Some ways to get our inspiration back is to do things outside of our norm. Go for a walk in the park. You know, go to a museum. Go to the beach, weather permitting. You know, like do something outside of your norm. Read a book even. Like just do something that's outside of your norm that changes up your environment a bit. Okay? Look for inspiration in music, in nature, and things that you watch on TV. You know, whatever the case might be, there's this need for us not to let whatever this, I'm going to call it maybe the current situation. It's either the current situation and a mixture of this perceived failure. There's a need for us to begin to let go of our mindset that this is the best that it could ever be for us, because it's certainly not. This feels like to me like it's a low point, and that you would be much better off placing, like, it's almost like too, for some of us, like, you'd be much better off doing this on your own. You'd be much better off focusing on your own, on what brings you inspiration. You'd be much better off listening to your own inner world and your own intuition. You'd be much better off if you take the time and be patient with yourself and compassionate toward yourself, and that you nourish yourself and take care of yourself, and you release any of these hostilities that you have toward yourself for whatever this thing is that either isn't working out, or you feel like you failed at. Because that focus on what didn't work out and what you feel like you failed at is killing your inspiration and your passion for what you are truly, genuinely talented with, and what you are truly and genuinely meant to do. So I hope that makes sense in some way, shape, or form. My pile threes, thank you so, so, so much. And I hope that everybody has a wonderful weekend.